Good morning. Hello, how's everybody? Okay, this is session 4, Rethinking Initial Ideas. You need the digital notebook opened as well as this video. You can kind of go back and forth, pause the video, go to the digital notebook, and complete what is there when you need to. So if you need to pause right now and open the digital notebook, please do that and then come back to the video. Your homework is going to be to check Power School and complete anything missing and also to read. All right, so here we have the do now. Um, let's see, it says read the sentences from the text. Richard and Mac fired all of their car hops in 1948. They closed the McDonald Brothers Burger Bar Drive-In, installed larger grills, and reopened 3 months later with a radical new system for preparing food. The system was designed to prepare food faster, lower the prices, and increase sales. Which phrase best states the meaning of radical in the text? So let's go back and look at radical. It says, and they reopened 3 months later with a radical new system for preparing food. The system was designed to prepare food faster, lower the prices, and increase sales. Installed larger grills and reopened months later. Okay, so radical, far reaching or thorough, maybe. Very good, excellent. So, an excellent new system for preparing food, a far reaching and thorough new system for preparing food, an innovative and unorthodox new system for preparing food, or the root of a number or quantity new system for preparing food. So, think about it. Is there one that you can rule out right away that just doesn't make sense in this context at all? I feel like there is, right? And then think about which one makes the most sense. Was their system far reaching and thorough? Was it, reaching out to people they've never reached before from far away? I don't know if that makes sense. Was it very good and excellent? Or was it innovative and unorthodox? Was it something that nobody had done before? So go into your digital notebook, make your choice, and then come back and I will reveal my answer. Okay, innovative and unorthodox hopefully is the one you chose because it was a system that nobody had done before. Okay, next one. Let's close that a little bit. Okay, Natalie is writing a narrative for her teacher about a family camping trip. She wants to revise the draft to add a good ending sentence. Read this part of the narrative and complete the task that follows. So she wants to add an ending sentence. So something that comes at the end. Think about what an ending sentence should do. It should wrap it all up, right? Kind of sum it up. So last weekend, my family went, don't look at that. Oh, look at that. Go backwards. Oh, okay. Oops. Last weekend, my family went camping. Since my brother is getting ready to graduate from high school, my parents decided that we needed to spend some quality time together as a family. The funny thing is that no one in my family except for my brother had ever been camping before last weekend. We borrowed a large tent and other camping supplies from our neighbors. Luckily, my brother knew how to pitch a tent and start a fire to cook dinner. Unfortunately, no one brought food to cook on the fire. It was also unfortunate that it started to rain buckets of water just as my dad announced, "Oh, we forgot to pack rain gear." While the rain poured down and our stomachs all grumbled in hunger, our family decided to make the best of the situation. We huddled together in the tent and played flashlight games. We ended up laughing so hard and having the best time. So choose the best ending sentence for the narrative. So once the rain began, we discovered that our tent had a hole in it. Does that sum up everything we read about here? We used the flashlights to make animal shadows, and my dad made noises to match. Does that sum up? Even though our camping trip wasn't perfect, we ended up making some fantastic memories. Does that sum up the paragraph? Or before the rain began, my dad and brother put our sleeping bags, flashlights, and games in the tent. Does that sum it up? No. Go to your digital notebook, make your choice, and come on back. And as you saw, it has to be C, right? Because remember, your ending sentence, you want to kind of wrap everything up. You want to sum up what happened. All right, good. Okay, so remember, in our fiction unit, the last unit we did, we were talking about when we were studying characters, our initial ideas about the characters sometimes were insufficient. And since characters, we know, tend to reveal themselves over time because characters are complicated, our first ideas didn't always take the whole character into account. And often, as we kept reading, we found contrasts and contradictions to our original ideas of who this character was or what we thought they should be like. And so, to develop truly accurate ideas about who our characters about our characters and who they were, we had to read and be alert to new contrasting and contradictory details, ready to rethink our initial ideas. The same is true for longer nonfiction books, like for nonfiction books you're reading, right? You want to think about in complicated nonfiction books, just like in complicated stories, central ideas only reveal themselves over time, and experienced readers have to be alert to new details. And sometimes these details contrast or are contradictory to their initial thoughts. And then we have to rethink our first ideas in light of new evidence. And that's what we want to think about today, rethinking central ideas in light of new information. So at first, we might think the central idea is one thing, and then we read some more and we gather more details, and now we might think the central idea is something new. So we want to consider which details are important and how do new details change my initial central idea. So just to review, remember we talked about contrast and contradictions. It's when an author shows you a difference between what you know and what's happening in the text, or a difference between two or more things in the text. And you want to ask yourself, what's the difference and why does it matter? And we look for these contrast or contradiction words that signal to show differences, like although, by contrast, besides, but, compared with, different from, even though, nevertheless, however, then again, instead, alternatively, yet, on the other hand, still, and otherwise. And we had this example. It said, Sparta was content to keep it to itself and provided an army's assistance when necessary. Athens, on the other hand, wanted to control more and more of the land around them. On the other hand, gives an indication that a contrast or a contradiction um, is there. It's showing how Athens differed from Sparta. So we have kind of that signal word that lets us know, right, that it's a contrast or contradiction. And we want to ask, what is the contrast or contradiction and why does it matter? Okay, so last week we studied some images of animals with their babies, and you said one central idea might be that animal parents maybe take care of their babies, or animal parents resemble their babies, or babies resemble their parents. Imagine that we read on in the same text, alert for new details that might somehow fit with the central ideas, and we came across these additional details. Okay, so here are some additional details. Okay, let's take a look at these pictures here. So the central ideas generated last week, that animal parents take care of their babies, isn't really enough anymore if we take these new pictures into account, right? Because these babies don't look like theirs, right? So there's some contradictory information here. We could just jot down another central idea, but in books like these, the central ideas tend to be revealed slowly. So rather than come up with one new idea after the next, often we have to rethink our initial ideas to come up with an idea that takes into account the whole text. So think about, what do you notice that maybe contradicts what we said with our old central idea? What do these new details suggest? And how could we revise the central idea to maybe incorporate all of these new details? So think for a second. So I'm thinking that these new details aren't of a parent caring for their own baby. Instead, they show animals caring for babies who are not their own. So maybe a revised central idea could be that some animals have natural, like, mothering or nurturing instincts, and they're willing to care for animals who are not even in their own species. So, do you see how just like in kind of complicated stories we read earlier in the year, central ideas often reveal themselves over time in the light of new and sometimes contrasting and contradictory contradicting ideas, and we have to hold our initial ideas loosely and rethink them in light of new details in the text. So maybe some animals have natural nurturing instincts or willing to care for babies who are not in their own species. So let's try it with Chew on This. So yesterday or last week, we said the central idea might be fast food companies market their products to kids so they can make more money. So be on the lookout for details that support or contradict that central idea. But also, be alert to new details that might make us rethink our initial idea. Okay, ready? So find important details. So in your digital notebook, I want you to highlight details that you think are important. Fast food workers are the largest group of low-income workers in the United States. Moreover, the rate at which fast food workers quit or are fired is among the highest in the American economy. When you have a good job, you don't want to leave it. A person who loves his or her job generally tries to do it for as long as possible. Many people, such as teachers, have the same job for as long as 20 or 30 years. A typical fast food worker quits or is fired after only a few months. So think about what you just heard or read and highlight a detail that you feel was important. So pause the video, go into your digital notebook, and highlight a detail or two that you think is important here. And then come back to the video. Okay, so something that I kind of thought was important was a typical fast food worker quits or is fired after only a few months. And I also thought was important fast food workers are the largest group of low income workers in the United States. And the rate at which fast food workers quit or are fired is among the highest in the American economy. So maybe if you didn't highlight something, you can highlight one of those. Okay, next slide. One of the reasons fast food workers leave their jobs so often is that the pay is so low. Almost 70 years ago, the US government established a minimum wage in order to make sure that employers couldn't force people to work for nothing or next to nothing. The minimum wage is the lowest amount of money that an employer is legally allowed to pay a person for each hour of work. Most American industries pay their workers a lot more than the bare minimum. The fast food industry, on the other hand, pays the minimum wage to more of its workers than any other industry in the United States. As a result, keeping that minimum wage low has always been part of the fast food industry's business plan. Whenever members of Congress try to raise the minimum wage, which in 2016 was only $7.25 an hour, the fast food industry always fights hard against any increase, and it almost always wins. Between 1968 and 1990, the years in which the fast food chains grew at the fastest rate, the real value of the minimum wage fell by almost half. The real value of the US minimum wage is lower today than it was 50 years ago. The fast food chains earn large profits as wages fall because it costs them less money to hire workers. So go ahead and highlight important details here too. So pause the video, go into your digital notebook, and highlight. So something that I thought was important now that you've come back is that one of the reasons fast food workers leave their jobs so often is that the pay is so low. And then I also thought was important is the fast food industry pays the minimum wage to more of its workers than any other industry in the United States. And as a result, keeping that minimum wage low has always been part of the fast food industry's business plan. So if you didn't find any details, maybe you can go back and highlight those. So interesting. So think about what details fit or contradict your central idea. What details are you finding important? So let me share my thinking. Fast food companies are taking advantage of people who really need jobs by not paying them well and then fighting to pay them even less, is one idea that I'm thinking. And then fast food companies market their products to kids so they can make more money. That was from earlier, right? So the blue bubble is from what we read today. So that's the idea I put together from today. The purple bubble is from the other day, right? So what's in common? So taking advantage, right? Taking advantage of workers and taking advantage of kids to make money. So that's the commonality there that I'm seeing. So what could be a new central idea if I put those two ideas together? So the idea from today, fast food companies are taking advantage of people who really need jobs by not paying them well and then fighting to pay them even less. And then from the other day, fast food companies market their products to kids so they can make more money. So if I put those two ideas together, how can I come up with a new revised central idea? So taking advantage of workers and kids to make money, maybe fast food companies take advantage of people to make money, whether it's kids or low income workers. So do you see what I did there? I combined the two central ideas from today and last week to revise my central idea from the other day um, into a brand new central idea. Yay. So think about yours. What did you do? What did you highlight? What do they have in common? And jot down a possible revised central idea, just like I did here in your digital notebook. When you finish that, tomorrow we're going to be reading in our independent books and doing the same thing. When you finish, work on U9R in IXL, U9R, SMART score of 80. Okay, be awesome. I have baby candy canes for you tomorrow if you are awesome. So hopefully you will be, and I will see you then.